Hi everyone, my name is Ryan Tate and I'm running for Maricopa County Attorney. Today I want to talk to you about an issue that's very near and dear to my heart, and that's the intelligent way to prosecute drug crimes and why in Maricopa County we're getting it completely wrong. So to start off, this is the chart that tells you the top 10 crimes charged in Maricopa County in 2015, and as you can see, a huge number of those were drug crimes. 66% of all crimes charged were for some kind of possession of drug or drug paraphernalia. That's a big number. Are we sending people to prison or are we giving them treatment? What are we doing? Well, 21% of Arizona inmates in the Department of Corrections are there for drug offenses. Their most serious offense is a drug offense. And of those, 45% of all drug charges in Arizona, they start in Maricopa County. So Arizona sends a ton of people to prison for drugs, and a huge number of those drug offenders are prosecuted here in Maricopa County. So how long are we sending people to prison? Now, this is just a snapshot, an example. This is methamphetamine, and right now in Arizona, the average sentence for somebody who goes to prison with methamphetamine conviction is anywhere from 24 to 34 months. So we're sending people to prison for 2 to 3 years on average when they go to prison on a methamphetamine conviction. How much does that cost us? Arizona spends $588,000 per day on incarcerating people whose most serious offense is a drug offense. That costs us $215 million per year. Are we getting our return on that investment? Well, the state of Washington did an interesting study, and what they did was they created an evaluation where they looked at all the different possibilities that someone can get if they're convicted or charged with a drug offense, and they calculated the return on taxpayers' dollars in terms of reduced crime rates and lower recidivism rates, meaning reducing the amount of times that somebody who committed an offense recommitted another offense in the future. Well, what they found is for every dollar that you spend on sending somebody to prison and giving them treatment in prison, you got $1.91 back to the taxpayer in terms of reduced crime. If you added aftercare, it goes up to $2.69. That's treatment that continues beyond the time that they get out of prison. If you sent people to drug court instead of prison, the return on investment is $2.83 for every dollar spent. If you give somebody job counseling so that they can get a job and that they're well trained for a job, that number shoots up to $5.28 return on every dollar spent. And this is the most interesting figure to me. When you send people to treatment programs instead of sending them to prison, every dollar you spent, you got $8.87 back. 9-to-1 return in terms of reduced crime and recidivism. That's an extraordinary number. 5 times more effective to sending them to prison and giving them treatment in prison. Arizona hasn't been doing that, which might explain why our prison budget has ballooned. Since 2007, or between 2007 and 2017, you can see where we've cut spending in school boards, public safety, universities, education, economic security. The biggest increase in our budget, Department of Corrections. So we're spending more money on incarcerating people in Arizona and cutting money just about everywhere else. Now, are we spending that money in prison on treatment? Because you remember that chart said you do get a return if you treat people in prison. Well, 77% of Arizona inmates were classified as having a serious substance abuse history. Only 3% of those are receiving treatment. So those budget increases that we're sending to prison, we're not sending them to prison with treatment. It's just prison. There's a lot of research that suggests you don't get a return on your investment if you send people to prison and you don't treat them. Most researchers have determined that addiction actually grows worse, not better, if you don't treat people. So Arizona's not getting the return on their investment. Here's our traditional approach, the one that we're following in Maricopa County right now. Someone's struggling with addiction. We send them to prison. Their addiction grows worse. Some people come out of prison with sobriety, which is great, but it's a small number. Very, very small number. More likely their addiction grows. And then what do? We send them back to prison for an even longer period of time. And then their addiction grows worse. And it's a repetitive cycle, and you can see it play out. A more effective approach, and one that they've started following in Utah and Texas and Louisiana and Oklahoma and Maryland and a ton of other places in the United States, is that with drug addiction, you give them treatment instead of prison. And that leads to the addiction growing smaller. Sobriety becomes a more likely outcome. If somebody still struggles after they get treatment, well, then you improve and increase the treatment, and then the addiction improves and sobriety improves. You can see the cycle there on the right. This has been played out in many, many other jurisdictions. It is time for Maricopa County to stop treating drug addiction like a criminal problem and start treating it like a health problem, because it is. And when we do that, we will return hundreds of millions of dollars to Arizona taxpayers that right now we're wasting on just locking people into a place where their addiction grows worse. If you agree, how can you help? Well, I'm running to change things in Maricopa County. The Maricopa County Attorney's Office determines to a great extent what we do with drug offenders in Maricopa County. I'm going to post the link to my donation page. Please consider donating to my campaign. We need to get the message out, and we need money to do that, and with your support I'll be able to do that, and we'll have a rational and effective approach to treating drug addiction in Maricopa County. Thank you.
I'm Ryan Tate, and I approve this message.